What is the creepiest thing that's happened to you? I was in my living room in my apartment studying for a test 5 in the morning. As I am sitting there in complete silence, I see someone try to open my door and fail. Something similar happened to my family when we were staying at a hotel. Someone opened the door with a key card really late at night, but as soon as he saw us apologized and left. I like to think it was someone from management who had access to all keys. I've checked in 2 hotels and walked into my room to find already slept in beds and luggage open around the room on multiple occasions. One time a guy was in the bathroom and I think he assumed I was his wife friend because he yelled hi when he heard the door shut behind me. I ran out very quickly. This happened to my family as well, except we were the ones who walked into an occupied room. Our flight arrived at like 2 AM, so we really just wanted to go to bed. We check in. They give us our key cards and tell us our supposed room number. When we got there, the AC was on but the lights were not. My dad senses that something was off, so he stops us from walking and says, "Hello?" The lights turn on and we find ourselves face to face with a half-naked, half-asleep, middle-aged Chinese man. We stare at each other for like 5 seconds before my dad apologizes and we all GTFO. My jet-lagged, sleep-deprived mom chewed out the poor front desk guy, and I imagine someone else got the same treatment from the guy we walked in on. My boyfriend's family was on a trip once and the sister had gotten there ahead of time and got a hotel room. The sister was out somewhere when the family arrived, so they got a key from the front desk, went to the room, saw clothes and luggage they assumed was their sister's. They showered and napped and then had a random European couple walk in and ask why people were in their room. Ends up the family had gone to the completely wrong hotel. Same here. I was going to bed around 3 in the morning, and my apartment at the time only had a deadlock, because the doorknob wouldn't lock. As I'm getting ready to finally sleep, I hear my doorknob turn slowly. I don't know why, but I yelled something like hey and the doorknob slowly went back into place with some footsteps walking away. It was just creepy. My neighbor sleepwalked into my apartment one time. We had forgotten to lock the door. Mostly because we have pretty decent security and there's a guard right outside our door. But I guess a somewhat senile old man neighbor thought our house was his and passed out on the couch. We didn't know it was him at the time, so it was much more frightening. But it could be someone drunkenly trying to find their house. One time in a public toilet, the person in the cubicle next to me stuck his head under and looked up at me. I didn't really know what to do, so I just got the F out of there. This happened to my dad. He was driving home from work and it was the darker part of the year and he saw a kid just standing in the middle of the street, our house only being one house over. He pulls up to this kid and asks if he needs help. No response. Out of nowhere, he starts yanking on the door. My dad is kinda startled, thank God the doors were locked. This kid starts climbing into my dad's car through the window, but my dad gets it up in time to where he has to back out. After trying to climb onto the car again, he goes to the other side of the car and attempts the same thing, but the window was up. Then literally runs off into the dark down the road. This happened last year and the only explanation would be that there used to be an autistic kid and his mom at the beginning of our street. It was weird that he ran in the opposite direction of his house, but he got out a lot. One time our neighbors found him in their pool. He loved their pool. On Halloween, he stood naked in the window. They moved out about a half year ago now. I don't blame the kid. He has autism. He can't help it. But it freaked my dad out that night. Working in a petrol station in my teens, I had a guy turn up on a motorbike. Came to my till. We had to ask them to remove helmet to be serviced. Policy in many petrol stations. I'm in Scotland. So this guy in front of me lifted his helmet up, and he was a random guy from the internet I knew. Surprise. It's me. I was creeped the F out. Served him and he left. Then he was on my MSN Messenger that night. I chatted with him once. I'd remembered after he surprised me. He was suddenly on my MSN Messenger and saying hello. And I'd asked how he'd got on there. He said I'd added him a while back. I couldn't remember this. But I was a teen and I've got a shit memory. We'd only ever had that one convo. Found out he lived the next town over and he was a bit weird, so I'd never talked to him again. Till he turned up at my work. Then he messaged me that night. being creepy. Then sending me a link to a website I'd made years earlier when very first got the internet. That I had even forgot about myself. Told me he'd hacked my computer and he'd added himself to my MSN Messenger. I blocked the F out of him. Then he turned up at work again. My colleagues supported me during this. And the next time he turned up I called security, who came over immediately. And they took him aside and barred him from the supermarket and its petrol station I worked in. Thankfully, that was the end of that. After my PC was wiped and sorted. Never seen him again. When I was 12 years old I was at a big grocery store and found a laser pointer. I ripped it out of the package and put it in my pocket, stole it. I went home and played with my cats for like 20-30 minutes, then went about my day. When I went to sleep I put the laser pointer on my table in my room and got to bed. In the middle of the night I woke up to the sound of something breaking. Sounded like a lot of wood just hit the ground behind me, and I was too scared to check behind me when I suddenly noticed the little red shining dot on the wall slowly moving in circles. It looked like it was supposed to spell something out, but I didn't really give much interest in what it was supposed to say. I squeezed my eyes shut, then woke up the next morning. Couldn't find the laser pointer and the window was closed. Edit. I live in Sweden. I never really understood how other kids could just close their eyes when something creepy happens. Whenever I was scared at night I literally crawled to the very corner of my bed, back to the wall, blanket to the nose and eyes wide open, scanning the entire room. I work in an assisted living facility. This is important. I work night shift, by myself most nights. I had a few residents away out at the hospital. They each have a pendant that alerts me when they need assistance, and a bathroom alarm when they are stuck in the bathroom. You have to pull down the alarm in the bathroom to get it to work, won't work otherwise. Here's where it gets fucky. I hear the bathroom alarm go off, check the room number, and verify who it is. Resident is in the hospital. It's 1:30 AM. The idea someone is fucking with me is slim to none, all of them are asleep. So I muster up my little amount of bravery to shut the damn alarm off, because I can't let it go all night. I'll be in trouble. Go into the room. Lights are off. Turn on lights. This fucking resident had wall to fucking wall dolls, guys. Wall to wall. Facing the door. Looking at me. Watching me. I step into the bathroom, shut off the alarm, and slowly creep back out. Oh wow, this just made me remember something similar to this. My dad worked maintenance at a palliative care hospital before it closed down. He was there after it had closed for good, so no patients, no staff, nothing, to do some upkeep jobs on the ground floor, and he told me that while he was working, about 5 of the call bells on the top floor went off. My dad ignored them and they finally stopped, and then when he was about to leave almost all of the bells activated again. He noped the fuck out of there and wouldn't go back on his own. I don't blame him. Hospitals, especially those for the aged terminally ill, are creepy places, my dude. Okay, this is a long one and happened about 14 months ago now, but I feel like it belongs here. I work in health information at a hospital. And some of our record archives are underneath one of the wards, and the only entry is through a shady red door at the back of the building. I'd been down there a heap of times before and it's definitely got a creepy vibe, but I surely wasn't scared and nothing freaky had happened yet. One day I had to go retrieve some files from down there, so I go about my business and unlock the red door. In my first few visits down there, I had found a brick to rest against the door to keep it wide open while I was in there, just for peace of mind I guess. I chocked the brick tightly to keep the door open and walked into the archives. I'd switched on the corridor light and I noticed it was really cold, like colder than usual, but still I walked to the record room I needed. I turned on the light to this room and it flickered a fair few times, and in between the flickers I saw a black silhouette opposite me in the room. I was legit stuck in shock. The light was now on and there was nothing there. I was shaking like a chihuahua at this point, but I went to the shelves to get the files I needed and then I heard the slam. I froze again and realized that that had to be the door. It slammed again. Like it was flapping in the wind or something, but it was a warm summer day outside. I grabbed the files, ran out of the room to the corridor and saw the door open. I fucking legged it to the door the fastest I'd ever run in my life and got out of there. I went to lock the door and the brick wasn't there. It wasn't even near the door. It was gone. I went back to my department and went into the bathroom and cried after that. It was so scary.